Chapter 6, Segment 3. Through evolution, vertebrate brains have changed in both size and organization. All vertebrates contain a basic neural chassis of a spinal cord, hindbrain, midbrain, dicephalon, and telecephalon. Variations within the brain do not occur in the subdivisions, but rather in their sizes. The evolution of large cerebral hemispheres occurred independently to the small cerebellum of a reptilian ancestor. Increased size of the cerebellum may be responsible for increased complexity of sensory processing and increased motor agility. All mammals have a 6-layer cortex called the neocortex. Reptiles were the first vertebrates to exhibit relatively large cerebral hemispheres and cortexes, although their cortexes have 3 layers instead of 6. Brain size evolved independently in multiple lineages. Even animals with similar body sizes have variation in their brain size. Increase in brain sizes have been related to behavioral capacity in mammals. The encephalization factor. A general relationship was found in present-day species and applied to fossil species. It was useful in understanding the relationship between the brain and behavior. However, scientists proposed that the brain weight should be considered as a fraction of body weight, and they found that there was an overall correlation between body and brain weight across many species. Encephalation factor is a measure of the brain size relative to body size. The greater the factor, the more exaggerated the brain size is for the species relative to the mathematical prediction for a mammal of its size. Brain size is adaptation. The medulla became proportionally smaller relative to brain weight. The cerebellum stays about the same with overall brain weight, and the cortex becomes bigger than any other parts. Theorists suggest that larger brains evolve in later stages of development. So, a mutation that prolonged the last stages of brain development would have resulted in a larger cortex relative to the rest of the brain, and this could have given individuals with a larger cortex an advantage, making this gene favored by natural selection. This can explain changes in the fine structure of the cortex. Many factors lead to rapid evolution of the large cortex in primates. Hominins were primates within the family of the Hominidae, and studying them helps understand how our brain and body adapted to the environment through natural selection. Hominin brains enlarged rapidly in our recent evolution. A large brain is a relatively late development. Our trunks and our arms developed about 10 million years ago. Us being able to walk on 2 legs happened more than 4 million years ago. Manufacturing using stone tools in our daily lives occurred at least 2.5 million years ago. And more complex things like dexterous hands, smaller teeth, and a trend toward increasing cranial capacity occurred about 2 million years ago. Negative and positive selection pressures affected hominin brain size. So large brains have costs and benefits. Some costs include long gestation periods and difficult births, prolonged dependence of an infant, and prolonged parental care. Human brains continue growing long after birth, and more than half of our genes contribute to the construction and maintenance of the human brain. This could be a cost because it leaves the genes susceptible to mutations, which can cause behavioral disorders. There's also selection pressure in the social domain, which could have led to increased brain size. So, social brain hypothesis states that larger cortex is needed to handle complex cognitive tasks, such as maintaining social relationships with others with larger brain individuals. And there has been a correlation between large brains and innovations in behavior, the use of tools, and social learning, which are all benefits. Brain size predicts success in adapting to a new environment. There's a hypothesis that large brains evolved as an adaptation to allow us to cope with sudden changes in environmental conditions.